All right, welcome everyone to another episode of MeZooMin. We're happy to see you. How you doing? Welcome. I'm wearing a special shirt this week. I got it. I have to thank my sister-in-law for this shirt. I meant to have it in time for our episode last week, but it didn't come in time. I have to tilt the camera down so you can see it. So it says unity. It says unity within diversity. Would have been great if I had it for our episode last week, but I didn't have it, but I'm wearing it this week. Rabbi Wahlberg, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. I'm just thinking if I should run upstairs and show them some of my shirts, but I think we'll pass on that this time. No, things are, today I finished my Shabbos Shuva drasha, and I'm just about finished with Yiska. And you have no idea how much I've been reading and what I've been learning. You want to hear an example? Or should we first introduce Rabbi Yogev?
No, we want to first hear your Yisker sermon for next Pesach.
For me to deliver it, it might take long enough until next Pesach.
Yeah, let's hear. Rabbi Yogev, how are you? What are you wearing over there?
I thought this is like a cool vest, and I wanted to try it on and see what you guys think. You like it?
Yeah.
I think it looks nice.
Cool.
You wear it very nicely.
Thanks.
We forgot to tell people that MeZoomin's become a fashion show, actually. We're going to be discussing the latest fashions, as you all know how fashionable we are.
No, I want you to know it's how many people, there are people in middle of the night who are watching MeZoomin, and people loved last week's with Reverend King. And so next week we're going to have another really great guest who happens to be a member of our congregation, and that is Senator Ben Cardin. And we're going to have a chance to hear a perspective from him. You know, I had an interesting experience with Senator Cardin this week. I called him earlier on his cell phone, and I got the voice message. And he called me back. He said, Rabbi, I'm sorry, I couldn't take your call. I was on the phone with King Abdullah of Jordan. That's who he talks to on a day-to-day basis.
Did you tell him that last week you spoke to two kings?
That's true. And I didn't get into whether his rabbi takes precedence over the king of Jordan, but it's fascinating when you realize how much we don't know about what's going on. But it's a lot to think about.
If they stick around for next week, they'll find out what's going on. We're gonna have to ask Senator Cardin what he was speaking to King Abdullah about.
All right, we can start with that.
We could bring King Abdullah on maybe as a guest or something.
What's that?
Absolutely,
Bring him on as a guest, the king.
I hear he's a big fan of the show. He watches it in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but no, in the middle of the night, I don't think. The only person watching television at that hour is the President of the United States and my brother Saul. That's it.
All right, now let's not get political until next week at least. We've got a fun show. We wanted to take a week off from guests because when this show began, it began as a conversation that the three of us were having, and we inserted some thoughts in there and some inspiration and some humor. And it was sort of an opportunity for all of us to take a little break from all of the crazy that's going on out there. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to share some of what is on our mind this week. And Rabbi Wahlberg, I know that you're thinking about the spies and about women and leadership.
How do you know that? That is so insightful. No, I'll tell you something interesting. In this week's Torah portion is a story of the 12 spies who went out to spy the land of Israel. 10 came back with a negative report, and the Jews were doomed to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. And there's an interesting commentary. The Kli Yakar is a 16th century commentary, and he seizes on the words where God says to Moshe, take for yourself men and send them to the land of Israel. And the Kli Yakar reads this to mean, listen, God is saying, I would prefer sending women because they'll have a more loving feeling toward Israel. But Moshe, if you want to send men, you go right ahead. So it would have been better had it been women. Now, you don't get that many positive women's statements in Judaism. So when you hear one of those, you really seize on it. But what made me think of it is this week there was an article in the New York Times by Nicholas Kristof, and he points out a fascinating thing. The countries led by women have been more successful in fighting the coronavirus than the countries led by men. New Zealand, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Iceland, Norway have done much better than other countries, all of them led by women. And then it is said there's been solid research that it makes a difference to have more women on boards and in grassroots positions, but evidence that they make better presidents or prime ministers has been lacking until now. I just found that fascinating. This is the Kli Yakar coming alive 400 years later, and it just reminds us maybe we should be giving a little bit more thought to the role of women. We discussed it, you, Rabbi Posen, and Rabbi Yogan, and I had spoken to Reverend King, and his daughter is now the preacher in his church, and I would love to have her preach one time at Beth Tefillah, and we were saying how strange it is that we can have a Black Baptist woman minister talk from the pulpit much easier than we can have a white Orthodox Jewish woman rabbi talk from the pulpit. Yeah.
I don't think that's what they mean by white privilege.
I don't think it's what they mean either.
Actually, when you talk about women and men,
white Jewish women's lives matter also.
It's true, and actually in a very practical way in regards to our returning to Shul. Before I get there, I want to share just a very quick thought on, we're talking about the spies in Parshat Shlach, but what's interesting is that in Israel, they're a parsha ahead of us, because on our second day of Shavuot here a couple of weeks ago, in Israel, they went on to the next week's parsha. So they're reading Parshat Korach now, which I mentioned. It's too bad, if we missed out. If we'd be in Shul and we had to write sermons, this is the best time a year to write a sermon as a rabbi. You can just take what the rabbis in Israel said the week before and put it together for your sermon. So, but there's a tie-in. Go ahead, Rabbi.
No. Tie it in.
I would say there's a tie-in between Parshat Korach and Parshat Shlach, which is that at the very end of Parshat Shlach, our parsha, we learn about the mitzvah of tzitzit. And at the very beginning of Parshat Korach, Rashi asks this man Korach, this rebel rouser, what does he have to do with tzitzit? And Rashi says that Korach tried to challenge Moshe's leadership by saying to Moshe, there's a concept that on the string of tzitzit, there's supposed to be a string of tchelet, of a bluish, purplish, turquoise-ish color of tchelet. And Korach tried to make Moshe look silly. And he said to Moshe, if you have a white garment and you have tzitzit on it, you need a string of tchelet. What if you have a garment that itself is tchelet? Does it require tzitzit? That was the question that he asked, which actually is what we call a klutz kasha. It's not really a question. One has nothing to do with the other. But Korach was trying to make Moshe look bad. And Korach said, this makes no sense. If you have one little string of tchelet could cover the whole garment, a garment that's full of tchelet shouldn't require tzitzit. And this whole system, Moshe, makes no sense. Now, why do I mention all this? I mention all this because we are lucky rabbis. See, we don't get questions like that. from our people, right? We don't get, well, maybe some. Actually, if you want, this is what we're going to do for this episode. This is going to be fun. You can put in the chat questions. At the end of our episode, we're going to do a lightning round. Rabbi Yogev's going to be collecting the questions as they come in, and he's going to take the best and most difficult questions, and he's going to ask them to myself and to Rabbi Wahlberg, and we're going to see if we can answer them for you. So get started now, putting some questions. It could be on what we're talking about. It could be on anything else. Put those questions, but they have to be the kind of questions we can answer in like a lightning round, 20 seconds. Like, don't ask why is there like evil in the world. We can't answer. Well, I can't. Rabbi Wahlberg could probably answer that.
20 seconds, I could cover that, no question.
Awesome.
Rabbi Posner, but listen, going back to the spies, we've started having a minyan in Shul, correct?
Oh, wait, yes.
Wait. Go ahead.
I have to get the trivia question in so people can start looking it up.
Go ahead.
So Rabbi Yogev, speaking of questions, trivia question.
All right, here is our trivia question. In a moment, we'll get back to the talid, and we'll get back to the minyan. Here we go. Which of the following fruits did the spies not bring back with them? This is actually a really good question because they brought back with them some of the 7 species. That we all know. And many people only know that they brought back one type of fruit, but they really brought back 3. They brought back 3 types of fruit. One of these they did not bring back. So we'll look forward to hearing what you think they did not bring back. Grapes, pomegranates, dates, or figs. Awesome. I think there's a nice message connected to that too. Anybody?
All right, Rabbi Wahlberg, thank you for letting us get that in.
Okay,
Women,
let me
men.
just say, we've started having the minyan. I'd like you and Rabbi Yogev to describe to the people, what's been going on at the minyan. I haven't been able to attend because I'm very careful with social distancing, and I keep 600 miles away from the nearest minyan. But where do we get the concept that a minyan is made up of 10 men? Would one of the rabbis tell us?
Rabbi Yogev, you want to take this one?
I mean, it's actually an interesting origin because the original minyan was not so successful. Minyan of men. They're called the Eidah, and they were the 10 spies.
Yeah.
We've got some answers coming in the chat. Terry Gitlitz has got it. Spies.
Okay, they have all the answers over there. The Gitlitz now.
The 10 men who were the failures as spies because they are called an Eidah, a community, a congregation.
What do you make out of that, Rabbi? It's the fact that we learn our minyan that we need 10 men just to formulate a minyan from a negative congregation of 10 men. Like what?
And that midrash, by the way, connects also Korach into it. There's the men who are with Korach are described as an Eidah also bad men, which, by the way, is interesting because it ties into your piece, Rabbi, about the Kliyakar. And I'm clearly saying we know they didn't send women. And that's why, one of the reasons why women don't count to the minyan, but the men who went, they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah. It's been interesting at our shul now. The minyan looks different than it usually does in terms of how people are situated when we're davening.
Describe it.
Well, what's very, very interesting is that we were able to skirt an issue pretty nicely because of our particular setup. There were at a time in Baltimore and also in New York and other places where they were limiting the numbers to, let's say, 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 to a minyan. What you had to do is basically say, if you were an Orthodox congregation, if you can have 10 people present, it has to be 10 men or else you don't have a minyan. So you're basically saying men are allowed, women are not. Our particular setup, we were fortunate in the way we did it in our parking lot was that we really didn't have to put a cap on it. And so we were able to have men and have women, and we have a very nice davening going on, actually. We've got about 25 or so people coming daily.
25 cars, I think. Yeah,
25 cars. 25 cars, 25 people. Some people said, actually, Rabbi, there's been a Maserati that's been showing up without a driver. It's very, very strange. It comes on its own.
It's by force of habit. Yeah.
25 or so. And people come and they either sit in their car, or most people have actually been getting out of their car because they feel pretty comfortable. We are more than 6 feet apart.
We're really far apart. We have cones in between every parking spot. So we're really separate.
Yeah, the cones, they stand out there blessing people for every. Did you see what I did? No, people aren't laughing, which either means they don't get it or it wasn't that funny.
Mark Levy got it.
Thank you, Mark. We don't need a mechitza because if you have a service that is not a set, what we call a kavua service that's happening all the time, it's a service that is temporary, not permanent, then you don't need a mechitza, but you still should sit men and women separately. Sometimes in shiva homes, this gets a little bit murky when people kind of crowd in. Really, we should have men and women sitting separately, even without a mechitza. And we discussed how to do this in the parking lot because it's sort of a strange situation. First of all, as it happens, and this is a part, I hope I don't get slammed for this, but this is a part of the broader nuance to the conversation. As so it happens, most daily minions are made up mostly of men. Well, that's because men are the ones who create the minion, but it tends to be. So when you think about logistics, and this came up for shuls I know in New York, they were saying, if we are holding off so that women can come, to be fair, we don't want to open just with 10. We want to make sure we allow enough for women, but we're a synagogue where women don't come to daily minyan, then does our principled stance of we won't have services if women can't come override the practicality of the fact that women wouldn't be coming anyways? And what are we waiting for? Sort of a complicated question. We were able not to have to address that for us, but as it turns out, there are some women coming and we're actually very, very proud. I believe that we have the biggest crowd of women going to an Orthodox synagogue during the week. I don't think there's another, I'm inclined to say that there's no other Orthodox synagogue with as many women who come during the week. We even have women who are coming who are not saying Kaddish.
Yes.
We even have women who are coming who are not saying Kaddish. Takes us back to the heyday of Lipa Diamond.
It's inspiring.
And, what's that?
It's inspiring and uplifting. Every individual that comes into the service, it picks it up to another level. So it's great.
And Eve Steinberg. Eve's always pretty serious about being at Shul and at Minyan. And then we have women who are coming who are saying Kaddish. But the reality is that the way we have it set up is that people are so far apart. And the cars are their own mechitzas, even though we don't need it, that it really hasn't been a particular issue for us. But you do see, and I think that's what Rabbi Wahlberg was getting at, the nuance and the subtlety and the difficulty in this issue where we're trying to be traditional. And our tradition is that it's the men who make up the minyan. And yet we're dealing in a reality where our women are certainly no less smart than the men or no less capable. And in fact, in our shul, a lot of the leadership is women. A lot of the lay leadership is women. Our last 2 chairs of the board before this one right now were women. So you have a shul where there's like some serious leadership coming from women, but when we turn on the dial of services, all of a sudden, in a sense, they don't count toward the minyan.
Okay, so you say turn on the dial. This is a challenge that Beth Tefillah has when it comes to the high holidays. We know that a lot of non-Orthodox synagogues, all you're going to have to do is turn on the dial and you can sit at home and participate in the service. While in Orthodox synagogues, in most of the Orthodox synagogues, people wouldn't think of missing the high holiday services and will be coming to shul. What are our people going to do? You should know that tomorrow morning we have a 3-hour meeting planned to discuss this very issue. What can we offer for the high holidays that's going to attract as many of our congregants as possible? And what can we do for those congregants who just aren't going to come? If you have any ideas, email them tonight to Rabbi Posner or to Eve Steinberg.
Well, we've got an answer coming in our chat from someone named John, and I have a guess what his last name is.
Booze, give lots of booze. Oh, you should know that in certain shuls in New York that are having Shabbos services, on your way out, they don't have a kiddush, but everybody's being given a Danish or a piece of cake. So booze, that's what he wants to do. Oh, John Mitnick wants everyone to know that the John is not him.
He's not booing us.
That's what we were all thinking.
Yeah,
we all thought it was John Mitnick.
We would never imagine it would be one of the rabbi's sons.
It's a party over there at the Mitnick household.
You know, it's true how quickly the world has changed in a sense. You know, you talk about turning on the switch with services, and of course for Orthodox shuls, I want to say something. You know, I don't think I've seen such innovation and so quickly in Orthodox shuls in a few months. I mean, this is proof of one thing. Come on, let's be honest. If half a year ago we would have said, hey, we got a great idea, we're all going to go on Zoom and we're going to do a little show where we'll talk to each other, people would have said we're crazy. No one's going on Zoom. We don't know what Zoom is. We're not, you know, but so quickly how things have changed. Rabbi Yogev, what do you say?
For sure. I mean, it's also interesting to see how rabbis have adapted, not just in terms of technology, but in terms of halacha. Like around Passover time, all these new guidelines were offered to people, and they were in terms of figuring out how to maneuver people that they were meant, if they were struggling with depression or some other type of challenge, if they could find a way to call a rabbi during the 3-day holiday, what type of foods can be eaten or not in this special time. There's like all these new halachic applications that is also, I think, really interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things go, how the future of Judaism looks, or Orthodox Judaism looks in the Zoom era. If this is a Zoom era, I don't know. What do you think? You think we're heading into an era where, and it's kind of like what I want to talk about, actually. It's kind of what's been on my mind recently. It's just like the future of Orthodoxy and of Judaism when it comes to Zoom and online Judaism. Perhaps I could imagine, let's envision a situation where a lot of us are on Zoom, we're connected. People enjoy attending classes at home. Perhaps at a later stage, some rabbis might entertain offering a way for people to join services at home. What will be with synagogues in the future? I mean, you have a situation where you had DVDs were like the main records are coming back, but DVDs were the thing when I was growing up. Now, who has a DVD? Everything's digital. So will shuls go digital? Will we lose our connection to a building? I'm just really interesting question. I'm wondering what the rabbis think about.
I'm not concerned about losing the connection to buildings. I'm concerned about losing the connection to each other. This is terrific. This is Zoom. But I see people here, and I would love to talk to them. I have questions to ask so many of them. I would love to know, when did Louis Bear grow a beard? God, when did that happen? Marlene, how are you feeling? I haven't seen you in a while.
Hold on a second. Didn't Louis Bear always have a beard?
Or
Well, hold on. We got to, Louis, where?
Well, you know what, Rabbi Posner? That's an example. I don't even remember.
There he is. 1 second here. Hold on a second.
It's been so long.
Hold on a second. Louis, 1 second. We got to unmute him. Hang on a second.
Can we zoom in on his beard? That's true.
Did he always have a beard?
I don't think it was that long, no.
Wait, he should be unmuted. He is unmuted. Are you unmuted? This is like important. We got to find out.
There you go.
Unmuted? No.
Rabbi Wahlberg keeps muting him.
No, it's not me, I promise.
No, you see, this is the problem with, we actually did this on purpose. Oh, no, we did this on purpose.
This is not what the future of Zoom will look like.
We did this on purpose because we want people to see how hard it is to connect on Zoom.
Yeah, yes.
We're unmuted now.
Oh, there you go. Come on, you always had a beard.
I've had a beard for more than 45 years. As a matter of fact, Debbie's never seen me without one.
Well, let's just say I didn't notice.
It's a little scruffier now. That's the
It's a
reality.
little longer.
That's
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think that
This-
his hair got longer, so it made this.
And
Yeah.
the hair is like it was when I first met him in 1974. Remember when our hair, that's what it looks like now.
well, Louis,
One
I'll tell
second.
you, whatever it is, you should know you're the first congregant to be spotlighted and unmuted.
There you
One
are.
second. Louis and Debbie, how long did you know each other before you got married?
Well, before we got engaged, it was 8 weeks, and married, we waited until he finished his comps in January, which was 6 months later.
Yeah, no, you people didn't spend too much time.
No,
No.
no.
And Louis has been growing a beard ever since.
Ever
Yep,
since.
we got it.
Well, we had it, last Friday, we all participated in a bar mitzvah on Zoom. And,
It worked.
it was very nice. It was very nice. And I have to admit, I worry a little bit. I wonder if people will say, yeah, this is very nice. I like this Zoom bar mitzvah. I don't have to leave my home. Are people going to come back to Shul for bar mitzvahs?
You see, I see Steve Bond is on, but I can't see his face. No, that's shame upon him. I don't remember. Does he have a beard? Do any of you remember?
Are you speaking out in favor of Zoom or against Zoom when you say that you can't see his face? Is that a
Listen,
good thing or a bad?
For me, being able to be the rabbi and never having to leave my house is like a dream come true. Let's not kid ourselves.
Is it still actually, Rabbi? Is it you like 3-4 months later? You're still
I have to tell you
still
something.
going with your reading and everything?
You have no idea how. My only problem is that some Shabbos mornings I wake up like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I say, you got to be crazy to go to shul. So it's having a negative effect in that sense. But other than that, quite honestly, my day, I have a very structured day. I exercise in the morning like I always do and read my newspapers. I have at least 2-3 hours of Zoom meetings. Today I worked on my sermon for Yisker and my Shabbos Shul Drasha. I'll usually take a little nap in the afternoon. My night is very different. I'm much more up at night, and I watch about an hour of television, which I never did before. Sherry likes mystery series. Tonight at 9 o'clock, there's HBO has a special on Roy Cohn. So I'm going to watch that. And I'll tell you, I stay in touch with everyone in my family. The kids drive by.
Yeah.
I miss, I don't know, but I miss the community. It's not on an individual basis. I miss the sense of community. I love Shabbos morning when I walk into Beth Tefillah and I walk through those doors and I look out at the congregation and I say to myself, I wonder who's the lucky guy that's the rabbi of such a congregation. And I love walking down the aisle and saying good Shabbos to everybody and seeing everyone. That's not Zoom. That's not Zoom, and I don't think there's anything electronic that can replace a hug.
You know, Rabbi, you're right. And when you come into shul, you come in Shabbos morning, there's a certain look that you have, which I always think about Shabbat. You know, they say that on Shabbat, like a person's face looks different. They say that like it could be the neshama yetera, the extra soul that we have, a face looks different. I promise to this day, if I look in the mirror on Shabbat, to me, it looks different than when I look during the week.
When I wake up on a Shabbos morning and I know I have a good speech, I'm like a tiger. I can't wait to get going to shul. The problem is when the speech is over, but thank God we have a chazan that's worth staying for.
So Rabbi Yogev, what do you think is going to happen with Zoom in the future of shuls?
Well, I think it's also, well, I think Zoom, I think virtual reality is here. I don't think it's going away. I think perhaps all of us who have not been brought up on it, it seems foreign, but I could imagine, I mean, I like holding books. I have trouble learning on the computer, like books on the computer. I like to hold the book. But I know when I was in yeshiva, when younger guys used to come in, age 18, they grew up on using like all the text on their iPads. They're like, why are you going to go buy a book? You just have it on your iPad. I can imagine like the next generation, I can imagine Judaism looking really different going forward. I think we're going to divorce ourselves from actual tangible things. But I could imagine there'd be a lot more usage of this virtual connection. And I could imagine rabbis growing up in that culture, like growing up using virtual tools, and then perhaps thinking in virtual ways, and perhaps adapting halacha in creative ways when it comes to that. So I think there definitely is room for that to have a strong place in Judaism going forward.
There's certainly one thing that has changed significantly. Rabbi Wahlberg always jokes about Rabbi Google, but the reality is that, once upon a time, rabbis were counted on to have the knowledge. And it's different today because people have the knowledge quite often. Like sometimes people come and ask a question and like, I start to give an answer and they're like, well, I read that, and they've got their own like approach. They just want to see if what they read online is actually accurate or not. And by the way, certainly, Rabbi, actually, when do you think about this? Certainly with like current events. Like there was a time that the rabbis were supposed to be more up on what's going on in Israel than people. The problem is that today, if you have a back-to-back meetings, by the time you get out of that second meeting, something quite significant may have happened and you didn't have a chance to hear about yet, and everyone else is asking you what you think about it.
Everything's so fast now. Everything's so fast.
Yeah, everything is so fast.
I mean, even us as rabbis, I feel like the rabbi life has sped up so quickly. Like the other week, I was in like 2 shivas in like 20 minutes. And right then I was in a minyan.
1 second, hold on. Rabbi Wahlberg thinks that it took you a long time.
2 shivas, 20 minutes, wow.
Meaning it was via Zoom. It was via Zoom, and we had like something else coming up, which a minyan. You can do a lot more. It's like not quality. But on the other hand, I'm able to connect with different people in different ways, and there's a certain value to that. So it's complicated because you lose out on the personal touch and on the connection, on lingering and staying and connecting. But you're able to connect with a lot of people and do a lot of things. So it's like
listen, there are people living in Israel who I know who are participating in this MeZooMin.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
No, there's no question about the ability to reach out. For teaching and learning, I see tremendous value that's coming by way of technology and the computer. But if you're looking to build a community, there ain't nothing like being together in person.
So that's what I wonder. Like, if this new generation that starts out with these types of connections.
Yes, that never knew the other.
What?
That never knew really the feeling of the other.
Yeah. So
I think it's very, very dangerous. I don't think we've caught up with the emotional part of all of this. I think that's part of the problems we have. I think it's part of the media and sound bites and all of that takes off with all of this. And literally you send something out with the headline and nobody bothers actually reading the story. Things move so fast. I think that we haven't figured out the emotional piece of this. And that's why you get people saying things that they would never say to someone's face, but they'll say it on a screen. By the way, I like hosting meetings on Zoom. I'm much more obnoxious to cut someone off and tell them that's enough, we're moving on.
let me give you an example. You said, Rabbi Yogav, that everything is much faster. So let me give you an example of something that happened before the coronavirus. I had surgery on my back, and I wasn't able to get out for several weeks or whatever it was. And then one day I had a doctor's appointment down at Hopkins. Sherry drove me. And on the way back, the Hurwitzes were sitting Shiva at that time. Steve and David was sitting Shiva. And I said, you know what, Sherry, I would love to pay a Shiva call. I mean, I can't get out of the car, but if you drive up to the house, we can either honk or call, and they'll come out and I'll just extend my condolences, which we did. We drove off and I called Rabbi Posner. I said, Posner, I got a new thing to teach you. Is this true, Kai?
You were ahead of your time.
Yes.
With the drive-by.
It's called a drive-through Shiva call. Yes. But you know what? Do I have to tell you, it's not the same as sitting in a living room with a family. That's the reality.
You know, that has been, I would say, the biggest challenge in being a rabbi during this time. The biggest challenge are the shivas, the funerals. We are so used to reaching out and being there with people and finding as many ways as possible to be there with. And now you're finding as many ways as possible to like not be there. Well, the rule is that you can't have more than this and more than that. And we have to stick there. We have to be careful. And that has been very difficult. It's been difficult for simchas, but everyone's fine at simchas. You know, they're fine. Like it's a good thing going on. Okay. But funerals and shivas, and look, we're starting to see some of those restrictions lifted a little bit. Levinson's is starting to have out there. They've set up an outdoor chapel, and we can get up to 20 people there. And so hopefully we'll be able to sort of be coming together more powerfully. There's no question that the human element, I believe deeply that the human element, the in-person element, the face-to-face, not on Zoom, but really in person, is crucial. And I really hope and pray that the world does not lose sight of those pieces, because I know that they'll eventually come back to them. The question is, you know, how much pain will we take before we realize that that's so necessary? I don't know. That's my take.
I see it like a little differently. Like I see that these could be two complementary tracks. And I feel like oftentimes when something's new, we always scary. Like when the TV came out, or like when the internet, things are new, it's scary, and we don't even know what to do with it. But I could imagine these like being two different tracks and ways to connect with people, and people might find the ways to do it virtually in addition to the in-person. I don't think I would.
I think that's true. Listen, the Muslims destroyed their civilization because they didn't want to accept the printing press. They didn't want to print the Quran and so on and so forth. And intellectually, Islam used to be at the top, and it went all the way down because it denied itself the use of the technology of the time, which at that time was the printing press. It's a terrible mistake if we don't use the technology, the miraculous technology that we've been handed in our time. But to remember that there is a human element that technology cannot reach out to.
It's so true. And, you know, when we talk about high holidays and when we start our meeting tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll have much to talk about in the future, we're going to look at, sort of to Rabbi Yoga's point, at doing those things complementary, at finding as many ways in advance to be reaching out to people virtually and as being as in person as safely possible. But listen, we have been having such a good time that we did not realize how late it's getting. We still have a trivia question to answer, and then a quick lightning round of questions that are coming in.
Hurry, so, I gotta watch Roy Cohn at 9
By the way, they advertised that Roy Cohn show is on after MeZooMin wraps up, and it might start late if MeZooMin goes over.
If MeZooMin,
I'm just trying to see if there's if we got any questions on Facebook, but so I'll give the answer to the trivia question. The answer to the trivia question was, it says in the Torah that they brought grapes. Everybody kind of knew it was grapes because there's like even pictures of that. There's a lot of illustrations of that. Pomegranates they brought back, figs they brought back. They did not bring back dates. But this idea of like bringing back the fruit has a powerful idea. Whatever fruit they brought back, the idea of bringing back the fruit is a powerful idea that everything connected to Israel, even its fruit, is something unique and special and should be valued. And I shared about that in the Minyan tonight. This idea that when we support Eretz Israel, we're supporting the cause, we're supporting a place to protect Jews. We're supporting them, we're connecting kind of almost spiritually to the land of Israel. And we ourselves become elevated. So it's another way to look at it. Even the fruit is holy and special. And the more we're connected, the more we're elevated.
Ironically, that's what a lot of people bring back from Israel. A lot of people bring dates back. That's like a fun, easy thing for people to bring back.
I should go there for dates. No, just joking.
Are there any questions we got to answer?
Oh, so your son talked about food and drink, food and booze. But aside from that, we're wondering if a live stream possibility could be broadcast without anybody actually touching the equipment on Shabbat. That's John Mitnick. So can you do a live stream at a certain point without violating the Sabbath? That's one question. What do you say, rabbis?
In theory, if the camera is on 24 hours, and in theory, if you leave on your television for 24 hours, in theory, you can do that, I think, but in practice, it violates the spirit of Shabbos or Yom Tov. That's just not what's meant to be.
And that spirit of Shabbos and Yom Tov, sometimes people poo-poo it. It's the spirit. But the reality is that the spirit is like maybe...
That's what Shabbos creates a spirit.
Yeah, there are so many laws connected to that. So many laws are connected that actually create the atmosphere of the Sabbath.
It's unbelievable. Elon, I'm home literally 24 hours a day. I never leave. But when Sherry lights candles Friday night, somehow it feels the whole place is different. And I can't pinpoint what it is. The whole place is different, better, softer, calmer, just sweet.
Do you think that's like a reality? You think it's your perception of it? Or you think there's something going on?
I'm not an existentialist. It's a reality, man. Okay. I don't deal in that stuff.
Do you think it's an ontological?
This is your field, Rabbi Yoga.
Is that an ontological reality?
No, it's
it's epistemological. Anyway,
I feel exactly the same way. And the funny thing is that Rachel and I talk about this.
I wonder about it.
All right. Oh, lightning round. Right. All right. Well, I'll tell you that story different time. Go ahead.
Go.
Yeah. So that's basically the extent of our lightning round. But Rosalie Selman mentioned on Facebook something nice. An advantage of Zoom, Rabbi Posner, after several years, I'm finally getting to know you really well.
So isn't that something? Rosalie, how are you feeling?
I have to see if she'll answer.
Well, she's not on Zoom. She's on Facebook.
Tell her I'll call her tomorrow.
There's a little bit of a delay. You'll get an answer in 20 seconds.
All right. Listen, we're gonna close this up. We will stay in the after party room for a few minutes for those who want to stay on Zoom, but we're going to have to go to make sure we get to whatever show that was that Rabbi Wahlberg mentioned. Another time I have to tell you how very different my days are than your days. To tell you, they're quite different. We're going to close with something that we are each looking forward to for the summertime, because we got the summertime coming up next week. We have Senator Ben Cardin joining us, and then MeZoomin's on a summer break. And Thursday nights is the cooking series that I think people will be very interested in. So what are we looking forward to for the summertime? Rabbi Wahlberg, you want to start?
What are we looking for? Well, I just canceled my first reservation for Ocean City. That was supposed to be towards the end of the month. I have another reservation, and we'll see what happens, but I have a feeling it's not going to happen. We will continue at Beth Tefillah. We hope to open up for Shabbos services. We're working on that. We will continue to have the Parsha preview every Friday. We have the BT in the AM that will be taking into the summer. there's lots going on and there's lots of plans. We have a lot of work cut out to make the high holidays work for us. And we are going to do everything humanly possible to make it meaningful for all of you in whatever way you're most comfortable.
Absolutely.
But do me a favor, socially distant and wear a mask. That's asked by just about every single doctor and scientist. This isn't a political statement. This is a statement of taking care of yourself. I mentioned this in the bulletin message for this summer. Some say that wearing a mask is not manly. If Batman could wear a mask, and Zorro could wear a mask, and Spider-Man can wear a mask, Wahlberg is man enough to wear a mask as well.
Absolutely. You know, they wore tights as well. Okay, moving along. Rabbi Yogev, what are you looking forward to this summer? And it better have nothing to do with tights.
Around my summer prop. So it's going to be a different summer. You know, we're not going to be able to do a lot of things that we normally do. One thing I do hope to do, some of our programs have kind of slowed down a little bit. I'm hoping, this is my goal, maybe you could check me and see if I fulfilled this. I want to engage a little bit more in meditation this summer. I want to actually go outside or find a way to do it, have some quiet time, and intently engage in meditation. We'll see how.
I too have given thought this summer to engaging in medication, and we'll see how that works out.
It doesn't contradict, Rabbi.
No, got you.
Well, I'm looking forward to something tomorrow, actually. We have a really fun drive-through for kids. If you've got kids or you have grandchildren and you're being safe and you're going out and however you're doing it, we're going to have a ice cream drive-through at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So we got Mincha at 2, and we've got, we're going to be outside handing out ice cream and popsicles. We'll have gloves on, we'll have masks on, we'll distance, we'll have music playing, and we'll have a chance to bring some fun because really it's very needed. And I hope that that's something that happens for me over the summer. And I hope it's something that happens for everyone over the summer. Look, you know, this sinks in. All of this serious talk and all of this be so careful and all this wear masks and social distance. I mean, it's scary and it's anxiety ridden and it makes us nervous. And it's important, especially for the kids. They remind us, but it's just as important for us as adults to laugh and to have some fun and to enjoy a little bit.
I have a really quick part, really connected to that. Our Parsha says that.
Rabbi Yogev, you're going to take this show away. Take it away, Rabbi Yogev.
Okay. So, all right, everybody. Our Parsha says, really quick, our Parsha says that the two spies that gave a good report that said the land is very, very good. Me'od, me'od. There's a place that says me'od, me'od in our tradition. It's Pirkei Avot. That you should be very, very humble. And Maimonides says you should be very, very humble because that helps balance people's arrogance. You go to the complete other extreme. I think during this time, there's a lot of messages that can be negative. And we have to, just like the good spies, they try to tell the nation, work as hard as you can to see things positively. Me'od, me'od, not just once, twice, very, very good. We have to work extra hard in this time, not just to see things as good, very good, but it's very, very good. That will help balance out all the other influences and help us lift our spirits going into the summer, God willing.
Awesome. You got to close the show.
See you next week with the Senator.
All right, everybody. From our living room to yours, we love you. Take care. See you next week. It's going to be pretty epic. Take care.
If you want to stay on for the after party, you can stay on. But listen, folks, we lay it all out this week. So we got nothing left. All right, folks, if you got something to say, you can feel free to unmute yourselves or raise a virtual hand. Rabbi Yogev, what's that vest made out of? I can't.
This is like a trendy vest. I never really wear it, but I figured you guys can't really say anything bad about it because you're all on mute, so why not?
Is that like Is that like down material?
No, it's like
Quilty.
it's not quilty. It looks quilty actually, but it's not.
Um,
Yeah.
Well, you certainly are the trendiest of the rabbis, I'll tell you that. Rabbi Warburg wears nice ties, but
It's tough
they are way
competition.
too wide to be
You're
trendy.
very trendy rabbis there, Shul.
Thanks, Rabbi. It's really great to see you each week. We miss you.
Great to see you guys. Great to see you.
And
Hey,
is this going to be carried on throughout the year? 'Cause
carried on is a good description of what happened here tonight. I'll tell you that.
No, I mean, besides being in Shul, a Thursday night for this is wonderful to just carry it on throughout the
Awesome.
year.
Thank you. Thank you. We hope so. We do hope that exactly off of the topic we were talking about that Rabbi Yogev advocated for, we do hope to be able to bring in some of the elements of things that we've learned in terms of virtual and streaming and Zoom and things like that into some of what we're doing. So we got to figure out the right way to do that, but we hope.
On the high holidays, can we find a way to do something like Yiska, like the way we did it for this, so that even if we're not in Shul, we'll at least be able to have Yiska?
I can tell you that we will. There's not much that I can tell you for sure about high holidays, but I can tell you for sure there will be something like that. We're considering all kinds of different possibilities. Our president's on the screen here. We really do have a 3-hour meeting tomorrow, and what you can expect to find out in the weeks and months ahead is that there's going to be lots and lots of different alternatives for lots and lots of different people. For the people who will feel comfortable being there in person, we'll have set up for them to be there in person. For people who feel comfortable being there in person for a very short time, we'll have services where they can come for a short time. For people who will be staying home, there'll be virtual opportunities. We really are looking at lots and lots of ways to be able to connect with people. And it won't only be Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It will be, the month and the weeks before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we will absolutely.
Done a wonderful job so far. So
thank you. The one thing we will not be doing is live streaming on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is something that the non-Orthodox shuls will be doing. But we, in a sense, have to work really hard to make sure that we come up with creative ways to connect over the time without that. And we're going to be doing that. Listen, do we have any words from our president? I unmuted you. You have a song you want to sing?
Or the president's friends or whatever.
The president's friends are hiding out in the garage. You can't find them.
I thought they were in the treehouse.
The treehouse, I can't get women to sit up there. I don't know what the problem is.
I feel bad. Our lay leadership has been working so hard. They really have. I mean, our professional leadership has also, but our lay leadership, but it's when we're on this show or when we're in a meeting, it's our jobs. That's what we're doing. Our professional leadership works like our lay leadership works full-time jobs. And then they also have another full-time job, which is like being our lay leaders. So I had, I think, 3 meetings this week that Ron was on. For those who don't know, Ron's a dentist. And Ron says, all right, listen, I got to go. There's someone waiting for me to come to check on them. They're in the chair. And I'm thinking, this poor guy's been waiting for 45 minutes while we had this meeting.
Hey, let him sit.
So I wanted to apologize if that was any of you guys. And now when you go to the doctor's office and they make you wait, they're probably on a board call for their synagogue.
I just want to tell you, I don't want to break any HIPAA laws or violations here, but Stacy Schwartz was in the office today, Lewis's wife, and I walked in and I said to her, listen, tell Lewis, stop calling me. I never liked him in the first place. I'm sick of him.
That's awesome. Ron's a great dentist for anyone who needs, for all your dental needs, by the way.
Yeah, 3% discount for any Beth Phillip members.
I try not to bring it up too often because then Ron will say to me, you've ignored those cards that we've sent you for 2 years that you're supposed to come in for a checkup.
Yeah, we get the sledge.
You write those cards to yourself at his office, don't you?
When Rabbi Turner comes,
they make you write those cards to yourself at his office.
It's very smart. That's true. They do that to you.
Still ignore them.
Yeah, I put in the wrong date, so it never comes to remind me.
Put in the wrong address.
Rabbi Wecker's teeth look great.
Where's Wecker? I haven't seen him in a while. Where is he?
I keep sending cards to his house, but he's ignoring them. That's awesome. All right, folks. It's great to see you. Have a great evening and a good Shabbos. And we'll see you soon.
Take care.
I'll see you at 8 o'clock in the morning, Rabbi.
That's right. That's exactly that is the time of ring. Good point. Take care.